Hi, this is Swapnil Bhartiya, and we are here in Chicago for EdgeX Open Hackathon. And today we have with us once again Jason Shepard. You are CTO of IoT and Edge at Dell Technologies. So first of all, welcome to the show once again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I saw you in Belgium a couple weeks ago at the Open Networking Summit.
Yeah, and so time moves fast, but it's always slow.
I can't believe it's 2 weeks only.
Yeah. So let's get into the journey or evolution of EdgeX project. It originated from Dell. Just walk us through the evolution.
I was literally driving through in the Bay Area looking for various different potential partners for Dell's Edge hardware strategy, and had this epiphany. It's just like no one's kind of doing it right. So it literally started July of 2015 with a phone call back to my team in Austin, the CTO team, and said, like, hey, what if we tried this? And initially it wasn't even like an open source project. It was just what's the right architecture? And we thought, very quickly, we need to extend cloud native principles to as close to the device edge as possible for this kind of flexibility and whatnot. And then after about maybe 4 months of working on it, we're like, architecturally great, but no, I don't want to be the 401st IoT platform. So this needs to be open. We need an open API. We need open interoperability, do for IoT what Android did for mobile. So it started internal to Dell. We put it into open source in April of 2017 through EdgeX Foundry. Now fast forward 2 years, a little over 2 years, we just hit our millionth download of all the containers. Literally since the last time we talked, we pulled the latest numbers, and 500,000 of those million were in the past 2 months. So you can see that it was a really steady growth, over the past couple of years, and then all of a sudden it's hitting the hockey stick. So it's a really good adoption, just the help of the community. And so the EdgeX Open, the whole point is, let's go do solutions around valued use cases on top of that baseline code. EdgeX is a unifying element, but then we want to make sure this is about kind of outcomes for end customers. So this first one's centered in retail, but then we'll see other ones happening over time.
So how did you manage to attract other players from, as you mentioned earlier, there are like 400 or more platforms.
Crazy towns,
it's very
platforms, yeah.
Fragmented field. How do you manage to crack that?
Open always wins in the end for scale. Obviously open source, the whole point of open source is you work a lot with the community is to minimize undifferentiated heavy lifting. We want to focus on value. And initially EdgeX, when we launched it, internal to Dell, it was called Project Fuse, and it was kind of like our code and fuse things together. And then when we launched EdgeX, it was mostly smaller companies backing it within EdgeX Foundation. A lot of really cool startups that are like, hey, I'm good. I've got no fear. I'm changing the model. Historically, in an IoT scenario, there's thousands of protocols out there for communicating with all this different legacy equipment. And the reason why is because everyone was doing lock-in plays. I'm going to lock you into my proprietary system, so it's very expensive to change. And so then I can charge you for service contracts and things like that. So what we figured is that around the time, we went after mostly startups up front, and we started working with lots of other companies, but a lot of the companies out there were like, I got it all figured out. I'm gonna own everything. It's gonna be awesome. IoTs, I wanna sell people's data if they let me. So I'm gonna lock you in, and then I'm gonna sell your data if you let me. We figured around the time that we got to 1.0, like through the community, we seeded code from Dell, but it was prototype code. It was the architecture super sound. The code was all Java. It was like 2.5 gigs of memory footprint. It's huge. Now it's all been replaced by the community with Go. Golang is the primary language, but it could be anything. It's polyglot. We figured around the time that we got to 1.0, which was the Edinburgh release in June, a couple months ago, the market will have felt enough pain trying to own everything, and then you start seeing large companies join in. And that's exactly what's happening now. That's why you see like the 500,000 downloads in the past 2 months, doubling in size after 2 years. It is an intersection of just great work by the community. We're going to see even more with these hackathons. We were waiting until we got to 1.0 to do the hackathons, and then just people feeling pain. Most people in this world won't listen until they felt some pain.
Right.
And the value is not owning the middle. In fact, you need interoperability, and the EdgeX is about interoperability between devices and applications. You need open interoperability to get to the real potential. Lots of money to be made around the wheel. And some people ask me, well, I don't understand how you make money with EdgeX. I'm like, how do people make money on the internet? How did Google make money with Android? The money is around the wheel, not the plumbing in the middle.
Right. And this is the first hackathon, if I'm not
Yeah,
right.
this is the first one. Yeah.
And you, as mentioned, that you're waiting for the first release there. So what is the goal of this hackathon first?
I mean, number one goal here is, I mean, there's a number. So one is help drive value for end users. Retailers in this case. Retail is a market that's really getting kind of hammered by the online thing, and so Open Retail Initiative, Intel led the launch of, and us and a number of other companies are participating in. Linked to EdgeX is kind of like the code base that's driving it. So, we picked retail because of the Open Retail Initiative, and just it's an industry that's kind of ripe for transformation, and the goal is to help people leverage open source technologies to be able to build solutions so they can become more competitive, stay ahead of the game. So one goal is just help end users. One goal is to just get people familiar. A lot of the developers here at the hackathon are I think there's like 11 teams or something. A number of them have never used EdgeX before, but really quickly they got it up and running and whatnot. And so it's cool. We've got some kind of end user retailers. We've got some system integrators. One of the big buildings controls players is here because that kind of has a close tie into a retail. So really cool. So the other goal is just kind of get visibility for the project and whatnot. But so now that we've kind of got the model down, today is the first one, as we said, we'll start to franchise it through the community to other areas. So I think manufacturing would make sense, and maybe like in Germany or whatnot. Smart cities one. We're talking about oil and gas. Just different vertical markets. Focus on valued use cases. EdgeX is the unifying element, but this is also about sponsored content and commercial value add on top. I mean, EdgeX is more about the API than it is about the commercial value or the code. Bind together heterogeneous ingredients with an open API is kind of the goal. So really good event so far, and looked forward to doing more of them. And we've done the painful like legal T's and C's and all that. That's fun. Now it's like done, so we just kind of have a package. We can do it again.
So this also I see as a kind of celebrating the first release because you get the community together. So how does the roadmap for EdgeX, because first release is out, we cannot talk about 2 years from now, but we can certainly talk about 6 months or for the next release. So what does the roadmap look like? What are the future you are envisioning there?
Yeah, so the big trajectory. So over the past couple of years, so I'll start with, first off was just kind of get the APIs, those core APIs in the middle that bind together, regardless of hardware, OS, protocol. It's agnostic to all technology choices, and bind together inherently heterogeneous stuff, at the IoT edge. So we got the code all swapped out. Golang as a baseline, so it's it's very light in footprint while still being able to deploy it in any number of ways. We added a lot around kind of fundamental security elements over the past number of releases. We release every 6 months in the community. Management APIs were added on top of the core code. So that with the Edinburgh release was the first kind of full instantiation of this kind of 1.0 of the management APIs. So now I can, in a common format, regardless of who wrote the container, it could be analytics, it could be a device service for ingesting data from a sensor, whatever. Regardless of who wrote it, open or proprietary, I can manage them in a start, stop, give me status, whatever, in a common way. So if you talk about the future roadmap, you're going to see more elements in the management APIs. You'll see some more security elements, but also the EdgeX model is not to go do everything, because there's value in doing management and security. It's more about just those APIs, and you can sell management tools, consoles, and security tools around it. Of course, analytics, whether it's AI or whatever. Very, very basic rules engine in EdgeX, as it stands today, because we wanted it to be where you can do something out of the box, but that's where you make money, is you sell analytics, sell security, sell management, whatever. Other things in the roadmap trajectory, more kind of, well, we've just announced, or we're kind of at alpha stage of these new application services, make it easier to build north-side services to whatever cloud or whatever you want. You'll see more around kind of east-west communications, so to speak. So between peer nodes. So just kind of more message bus type capability, more for sort of true distributed computing, but always in the community. And the community votes, for any open source project, what's valuable and what's not. But the trajectory is more plumbing, more enabling features a little bit more around security and management, but then it's all about that enabling people to build more on top.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason, for talking today. And I'm actually sure that we'll be seeing each other again
I'll see you in 2 weeks, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thanks.